Hi, good night, y'all, and we are live on Real Talk here tonight with your host Beverly Briggs and co-host Christine Brooke. Hi,
Hello,
Christine.
hello.
Hey, how was
Hi.
your day, girlfriend?
I'm doing well.
How was your day?
Oh, today was busy. It was productive, but it was a really great day. It was really busy. What about
Okay,
yourself?
mine wasn't as busy. I since my Christmas season was so hectic, I decided to take a little cruise. So it wasn't as hectic as yours, thank God.
That's
I
good.
have been putting a lot of things on the back burner. Not too happy that I putting it on the back burner, but still thinking that it's necessary to put it on the back burner a little bit so that I could preserve some energy for later.
Yes.
I don't want to have to run on empty at all.
Right. Right. Yeah. Uh, Gosh, 2020 was something. It was something. It was a heck of a year, if I can say that.
Yes,
But
truly was.
2021, I'm hoping that it will be. I know it's already been a challenge here in the US. I'm hoping that it will be a turn for the better, though.
Okay, for me, I think that the betterment just has to come with us, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, the way things going, I don't know that I'm seeing it getting any better in the near future. I mean, this is just my opinion, right? When you come out of one thing, it's into another, and
Yeah.
to me, right now, we are the persons who have to be able to say, listen, regardless of what is going on around me, I am going to choose to make this a great year. Because I could say for a fact that 2020 was a great year for me. It was a roller coaster year for me. It really was.
Hmm.
But it still was one of the greatest years because I saw a lot of accomplishments within myself for 2020 that I
Yeah.
didn't have going on for me for years.
That is
Yeah.
true. That is true. We, I think a lot of people made a lot of significant strides in 2020 for sure. When I say it was a heck of a year, like it had its ups, it had its downs,
Um,
it had its side twists, turns, and at times we might have felt like we were hanging upside down.
ah,
You know, it was it was an interesting year. Let's say that. It was an interesting year. It challenged us health wise, and 2021 is still going to challenge the world health wise. But
mm-hmm.
it challenged us economically, it challenged us
Yes.
emotionally, financially. Um, and a lot of people had downs, a lot of people had ups in all of that. And
Mhm.
that's where we come in, right? To help
Right.
people have a sense of gratitude no matter what the situation may seem like.
And to allow the situation to drive you into purpose.
Right?
Eh? Because many of us just rely on the system, you know, go to school, get a schooling, get a government job, and we feel secure. And many of us don't even like what we do. I was remembering something I heard Les Brown say just today. I was thinking about it. And he said, I'll tell you it in a minute. He said, oh my God, my mind it just came out of my mind.
What was
Ah,
he talking about?
ow.
I can help you through it.
Yes. Well, we really, I will get back to it. We
Okay.
really, it is really all about our mindset. It is truly, truly, truly all about our mindset as to how we get through this time. Life is something like like you have a rubber ball and you bounce on it. And the harder it hits, the higher it goes. I kind of see life as that. And 2020 have been like that. Some
Yes.
lows that we hit were really, really low. But the heights that I've hit was really, really high. And to me, it was an adventure. It was truly, truly, truly an adventure. You know,
Yes.
I see myself stepping into purpose, and I'm like, oh, yesterday, I was doing a video yesterday, and I couldn't really post the video because the video did not go with what I was saying. You know, I was tired, and you were seeing it in my eyes, and really not feeling as victorious as I said I was saying that I would. And it made me sit down and think, really, really, really think on what we put out there and how it portrays and how much we spend taking care of ourselves and how much we really put into what we know to believe our purpose is in life. You know, um, we are so fortunate at this point in time in 2020. And plenty times we can't see how fortunate we are because we spend more time thinking about the negative rather than being grateful for what we have right here, right now, or right at this moment. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if someone is listening or watching this podcast, they have the ability to see and hear. And there's so many people that don't have that ability. We're able to speak, and use our voice. We are not mute. We, have not lost our voice box. We are able to think and to compose our thoughts in a way that others understand. Those are things to be grateful for. Just the ability to see, hear, smell, touch, feel.
Yes.
We should have a ton of gratitude.
And
And
yet,
even with COVID,
sorry.
people lost the ability
Mhm.
sometimes to smell and taste. So it is crucial that we find gratitude in all of those small things, or things that we think are small, but they're really huge.
Mm, they are. They truly are. But you know, I just Saturday, I had a retreat on Saturday where we were able to sit down together and share our different stories and just enjoy a lovely get together. And just on Saturday, I was saying, "Oh my God, you know, I'm laughing, right?
Hmm.
I am fighting right now with my mind going blank, and it is not fine with me. It is really, really not fine tonight. But you know,
Explain that though to people. Like,
why my
because
mind go blank? Over the years, and this is why I stick to the fact that I tell people, you know, one of my greatest things that I want persons to know is to get help. Get help. Over the years, I suppress my feelings and my emotions. When I go through things from early o'clock, right? So for those who know my story, from 5 years old, I was molested. So things started happening from really, really early. And from early age, I had convinced myself that this is life. And so what I told myself is, listen, what you're going to do to get through this life, keep pressing. So I never gave myself the time to feel. I never gave myself the time to think. I learned to blank things out. And so my brain has learned to blank things out over the years. And so it continues the cycle. So that um, a lot of times I would be talking or, and my mind will just go totally blank. Had I decided to get help for my problems or the things that I was going through, uh, it wouldn't be like this for me. As I was saying earlier on, yesterday I made the video and I was looking at it and I said, Shais, if you had gotten help, how different things would have been for you right now. But also, Christine, I had to ask myself because I remember thinking you see persons in church and everybody is like everybody marriage good, everybody life good. And then you get into it and you wonder what's wrong with me. Why does everybody is having such a great time? And it seems like just something had to be wrong with me that I can't get it together. I mean, I just pray too, I know God too, I give my life to God. So what is it? And over the years, I've got to realize that we hide a lot of who we are. We hide a lot of our stories, and we think that what we have to put out there has to be perfect. And there are so many persons who feel like they are alone in this thing because they're not getting this perfect thing that they are seeing out there. And I really have to see them because I am telling you, yesterday I was challenged with the thing as to whether or not I wanted to carry on with this program. And this is another thing that, sometimes God give us a word to speak in each other's life, and we must not hesitate. If he puts out a thing that he says he has a word for everybody, and if you want your word, just type in your name or something like that. And I did, and he said, your word for this year is consistency. And when I thought of it yesterday, and I said, you know what, I think that I need to run back, maybe give somebody else to run this forum. It came right back to me.
Good.
The word for you is consistency. And I was like, you know what? Something I used to say before, I resoluted in myself again. I said, you know what? Persons are going to see my struggles. We had to be able to see, like, hey, here's where I was, and look at where I am today. But I also want persons to know we don't have to be perfect. We just have to step into purpose. Listen, persons who God wants us to reach will be reached. And you see, sometimes we looking for likes and followers, and sometimes the persons God wants to reach is us.
That's true. Oh yeah.
So that when I said that, I was like, okay, yes, Shai. You know what? You're going to push forward with this. It may not be always the way you have it in mind, but God is always in control. And He will allow it to do exactly what He wants to do with it.
Yes.
That's I don't want to feel like I'm talking. Leaving you out.
I just didn't want to interrupt you. I'm like,
No,
yes,
you can go ahead.
yes, yes.
You can go ahead.
So when we were backstage and we were talking
Mhm.
about we're gonna adjust it just a little bit. We were talking about, you brought up the feeling of feeling whole and
Yes.
how our wholeness, when we feel like we are more of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
we are able to make different decisions.
Yes.
And you asked me the question about, would I have married even my husband that I married
Mm-hmm.
that has I've since divorced and he has passed away. And I want to say yes, I would have, because out of that, I had my daughter. And yet at the same time, it's like, I know that if everything were the same, I was telling you backstage, if everything were the same and it was now, and I was older and wiser, I can't say that I would have accepted the relationship as it was when I did, when I was 20, So do you have experiences in your life like that as well? Like, what about when you were married? Would you have, now that you're older and wiser, would you have made the same decisions?
If I was whole, I would have definitely made another decision.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, the education that I have now on wholeness, a lot of it came from those broken moments.
Exactly.
Broken marriage, is the things that I have learned most, and it's a good thing and it's a sad thing, because I do not want it for my children, and this is one of the reasons why I made up my mind that I was going to speak out. I really talk to my children. I talk to them and explain them things all the time, because I really do not want my children to have to endure some of the experiences that I endure. But at the same time, I am thankful for the experiences that I had. I am truly thankful for them, because I am so much a better person today because of them. I really, really am. And this is something that I like doing. This is what I believe the purpose that God has on my life. And to be honest, the things that give me the education that I need to have something like this is basically the hard times that I've been through. Is that what provided a lot of the answers for me? When I got married, I was in a total mess, Christine. I got married at 21. I did not know who I was as a person. So wholeness was really, really, really far from me. And to be honest, I had somewhat a hatred for men also, when I got married. And how do you really teach a person to love you when you don't even know who you are?
Right. You can't, because you don't even know how to love yourself.
Right. And you think you have an idea. See, when we are broken, we go into these marriages with our Hollywood ideas, and not necessarily the truth about what marriage is and what brings wholeness and completeness. So when we go in with these Hollywood ideas and we don't get them in the marriage, we don't experience them, and we don't feel love because we're not experiencing it, then what? Then what?
That's when the relationship breaks down.
Yes, it does. It does. I up to today I was talking about this. Jess, I can tell you something with a totally different mindset to what you may get. I might tell you a simple thing, and you interpret it totally different because of where your mind is. Or you might tell me something, I would have a total different understanding to what you telling me because of where my mind is. And that is the difference between being whole and being broken. Because if I have already so many negative things in my mind about myself, even though you are telling me something that should be positive for myself, plenty times it comes across negative. And when these things should be uplifting to you, it becomes really a drag. It pulls on you, it pulls you down, you know. It
Mhm.
adds and adds on to the burdens that you already have within yourself. And it weighs on the marriage. It weighs really, really, really heavy on your marriage.
Yeah, there was a counselor that my ex-husband and I we went to, and they explained to us that when we talked to each other, we needed to listen to each other as though
Mm-hmm.
we were saying what we were saying in the best way possible. So instead of assuming the worst, instead of assuming the most negative thing that they could be saying, could they
Mm-hmm.
potentially be saying it to mean something different than what you're saying? Because if
Yeah.
you're assuming the worst, that's not
Mm-hmm.
the best way to look at it. And that's not a
No,
loving way to look at
no.
it in a marriage. So
Mm-hmm.
we tried that. I mean, ultimately, our relationship didn't work, but um, it did help though, and it helped outside of our relationship. We were able to
Mm-hmm.
now view what anyone said to us in the best way possible. So when you frame it that way, a text can come through and someone asking, "How are you doing?" You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can take that as someone, you know, with a text, you can insinuate a tone, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, now they're finally asking me how I'm doing after I just posted on Facebook that I wasn't doing okay, or that,
Okay.
you know, this or that.
Oh, they're
But
checking
what
up on me
if?
because they think I'm with somebody.
Exactly, exactly. And but then when you start to frame it as in your mind as,
Uh,
oh, they might genuinely be asking me how I
mm-hmm.
truly am doing. They might genuinely be concerned about how I am. And then you respond
Mm-hmm.
to it with that intent from them, then you are able to give back to them a level of best intent, right? So like
Yes,
if they did have a negative intention, it's really shutting it down
it
because you're not
is.
allowing that in.
You know, they are up to today. I was listening. I was watching the show that you told me to watch, The Secrets,
Yeah, I
where it
love
was
it.
talking about laws of attraction, and
Yes.
you know that is a law. It is a law. Um,
Yeah, it's one of the
where your
universal.
mindset is what you attract.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So a
So
lot.
there are two of those movies. So the first one is the one I think that you watched. It was produced in 2006. And it talks about how the law of attraction works, and there's a lot of different speakers. But then
Mhm.
there's a follow-up to that for people that like need a visual to it. And that was
Okay.
released in 2020. It's called The Secret Dare to Dream. And gosh, who was in that movie? She was married to Tom Cruise. What is her name? You know what I'm talking about?
I am
I'm like, she was
helpless
on
where those
Dawson's
things are
Creek.
concerned.
Yeah, her.
I am helpless where those things are concerned.
And it was a good movie to be able to
Yeah.
visualize, like, okay, when
Mhm.
we think negatively, it
Mhm.
even impacts our children, and our
Yeah.
children start to think negatively. But
Mhm.
all it takes is one person coming in and changing a dynamic. And you're able to see in that movie, the second one, just the dynamic and the shift within a family, and you see it come full circle. It's a little bit, what do I want to say? It's a little bit predictable if you've watched The Secret,
Mhm.
but it is really allowing you to visualize how the impact of what the law of attraction can do, and how
Mhm.
powerful it can be, and how important your mindset is
Yes.
in
Mhm.
allowing things to come back to you in the best way possible, because
Mhm.
you're putting your best mindset forward. You know, we always talk about putting our best foot forward, like physical appearance, but
Yeah.
Yes, that's important, but what are you thinking? Because that is going to impact you more. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because if you have a negative mindset, you can have the best outfit on and the best jewelry or drive the best car and live in the best home. But if you think the worst out of people, well, then guess what's going to come to you? Only
The
the worst.
worst. True.
Exactly. And
True.
and then all of those things that are so good for you or that you enjoy that are tangible things, those will be lost because the
Mm,
intangible things that you should also appreciate, you can't because you don't have a mindset to appreciate and have gratitude for them. So
yes.
it's important to know what mindset you're having and
Mhm.
understand that the things that you say to yourself and to others matters. And
Yes.
I feel like when I had moments where I didn't feel whole, that's
Mm-hmm.
where the positive music, the comedy that made me
Motivation.
laugh, the positive
Yes.
self-talk, all of that was important. Our
Yes.
background music. Yep, the music.
That's my sister's phone that is ringing. I hope she gets it soon.
But yeah, I
Yes.
mean, all of that, the positive mindset matters.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know that you're in a funk, then try to get out of it,
Yes.
And I think that's where also looking back on divorce, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I got to a point where I didn't feel like there was any moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
My positive mindset was that things can get better on my own. And although, I respect him and, love him for who he is,
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I had to move on in order to have the love for me that I knew I deserved, you know. And if someone else isn't going to give me the love and respect that I feel that I deserve, then
Mm-hmm.
I have to take it. And that means separating myself from that person.
Yes.
And not only did I do that with that relationship, but I've had to do that with other relationships. And I think I've talked on that
Mm-hmm.
before. You get to a point sometimes where there are people in your life that you have to
Cut
yeah
off.
yeah
Mm-hmm.
you try to communicate and ask them to correct it,
Mm-hmm.
and if they don't want to communicate and they don't want to correct it, you've tried and you've even potentially gone to counseling
Mm.
and you see no change, then you have to cut it off for your own peace of mind and for your
Because
own wholeness.
this
Sorry.
say sorry, sorry. Yeah. You finished?
Yes,
Sorry,
go.
I got, oh God, sorry about cutting you. Um, the saying goes, corrupt, don't be fooled. Corrupt associations will corrupt you. And the truth is, when we sit down and we think about ourselves, we have so many shortcomings in so many different ways. And we understand our reasons for our shortcomings. We have to sit down and start thinking that, we're not out here to change anybody. It's ourselves we had to change.
Yeah.
And we have to consider the environment that we need, the environment that is conducive to change. And because you could decide to remain there and see yourself becoming so different, so bitter, making decisions that you would never, ever, ever see yourself making. And it's like you look in the mirror one day and you don't know who you're looking at. You don't know. And so many times we choose to reach a place where we are bitter and we're angry and talking down each other and looking down at each other and you're playing the blame game, like Adam and Eve. Lord, it's not me, it's the woman you give me. It's not me, God, it's the serpent that you put in the garden. And we start playing the blame game. But we have to be able to look at ourselves and say, listen, this is what I need to make sure God says, I wish above all that he prosper and be in good health. And we have to look at what would cause us to have that good health and what is taken away from the good health. But most importantly, Christina, I go back to what we were talking about before. Most importantly, it is important to seek that wholeness before we think about any kind of relation, especially a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
We have
Yeah.
to think about it.
Yeah. And I think for me, I felt like I was whole when I got married. But then I got to a
Mm-hmm.
point where I would go to work and Beverly, I would look up, is this abuse? Is this
Mm-hmm.
emotional abuse? Mental abuse? Verbal abuse? What is
Mm-hmm.
this? Because I know that I shouldn't be feeling this way. And I probably
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be experiencing the things that I've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
What is this? And what do I do? And, if you have to ask yourself those questions about a relationship that you're in, then it's probably that's a big
Flag.
red
Mm-hmm.
flag.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that, you can start in the relationship feeling whole. And then as the relationship progresses, if you don't feel the same that you felt when you started,
Mm-hmm.
then that means that you're being diminished. And that's when you have to decide, I'm going to move on for me, because I deserve to be
Mm.
whole. Just like
Eh,
a person starting out deserves to be whole, and you need two whole
yes.
people coming into a relationship,
Yes, we
you
do.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about that other person filling a void to love you.
Right.
It's about you loving yourself,
Yeah.
and that love overflows, and you can give from the overflow, as Les Brown says, as a Jan Levanzant says, you
Mm-hmm.
love yourself fully, and then you
Yes.
give from the overflow. And if you have two people that love themselves fully, then the love is always just bringing you guys more joy and more wholeness,
Mm-hmm.
beyond the full feeling of loving yourself that you already had. So it's
Yeah.
only a benefit that you're in the relationship, because it's not
Mm-hmm.
bringing you down and you already were full and whole to start.
Yes. And to add to that, the beautiful thing about wholeness, Christine, is that again we go back to the laws of attraction. Wholeness attracts wholeness. It attracts. Brokenness attracts brokenness. Wholeness attracts wholeness. And that's the beautiful thing about being whole. It's not, it's not about how you feel. You know it's in your heart that you are completely satisfied with who you are. You are completely comfortable. They have another way. I am saying the laws of attraction, but they have another way that they put it. Birds of a feather flock together.
Yes.
Yes, you know, and the truth is, if we look at wholeness, there's laws out there that shows us, like, I remember I was speaking to someone and I was telling them, if I have an orange and I cut it in half, we have two whole halves. But then if I was supposed to slice off a piece on one of the half, when I put it together, no matter how much I try to jam it together, it's not going to be one, right?
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Right. So when we go in broken,
Mm-hmm.
into a marriage that is supposed to be one, about a oneness, it is absolutely totally impossible for marriage to take place the way marriage is supposed to take. Because there, if once you are broken, then you can't have the oneness that is needed. You
Unless you
can't.
do the work. You have to work on yourself.
Yep. And I would suggest to do the work before marriage, because marriage within to put two persons together who are completely different from complete different cultures is already something that you have to work on. And then you have to add finance on it, relatives, children. It's a lot. So when you go in there and you have to work on yourself and still have these areas in which you have to work, that is overworking. And many times you end up in an empty place because of the amount of work that you have to put out. You end up in an empty place, not being able to provide what you yourself ought to provide.
Right. That is true. That is true. Ah, man.
I
It can be
don't
so
want
complicated, huh?
it could,
What do
you
you
know.
like? Let's take it a step back. Like, what do you
Yeah.
think about people dating and they're not whole?
Ah,
Same thing?
it depends on what we think as dating now. The problem is today we think dating is courtship. Dating can actually help you to learn who you are.
Yes.
Dating, you go to this guy, okay, I know I don't like this. I don't like, I'm a person, I really am not a restaurant person. I prefer to go on a picnic. You
Right.
you got to understand these things about yourself through dating.
But do you think that you should be, and there's no right or wrong answer, but do you think that,
Mhm.
and this I guess is a question for everybody, do you think that people should be dating and they're not whole and they know they're not whole?
Yeah, and as I say, there's a difference between dating and courtship.
Mhm.
I believe courtship is for persons who have spent the time working on themselves and becoming whole. Dating is different. Dating helps you to become whole. Dating is not exclusive. Dating
Yeah.
means I could go on a date with this guy this tonight, and tomorrow night I'll be on another date with another guy. And that's cool because I'm dating.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
courtship is different. Courtship is when you're dating with the intent to get married, and that one is exclusive. Again, I would say that it is. We have Mr. Lafleur. Is Lafleur right?
Yes.
Ah, Quasi.
Coming on with us tonight,
Hi, how
so
are
we can
you?
get a meal. Good night. Oh, I am so happy.
Hello.
I know Kristen is happy. We are so happy to have you on with us tonight.
Thank you.
Were you
Have
able
you
to
been
catch
listening?
any of the conversation that we had at all?
I literally just got in.
Okay.
Literally.
Mm.
Haha. We got you now.
So let's hear. So here's what we are talking tonight about wholeness. The
About?
importance of about wholeness, the importance of wholeness. Right. And so we will now say that we want to know what is your view as to wholeness and courtship and marriage.
Interesting.
Mm.
He's like, I'm on the spot right away.
Yeah, that's what we're not even going in to tell you right now what we said. We want to hear your views.
Wholeness, courtship, and marriage.
Yes.
Hmm. All right. Well, first thing first, I will start from the latter come forward. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So we all can agree that marriage is an ordained union between two parties and God.
Okay.
All right. So
Mm.
in my estimation, I believe that marriages is one of the uh, it's like sealing a covenant, not just between the two parties, but sealing the covenant with your heavenly
Mm-hmm.
Father as well. So it was something that God initiated from time immemorial, and
Mm.
it's something. It's a union that brings forth a lot of fruit, not just children, but
Mm.
all right. It helps both parties help one another throughout the period of time that they are together. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so because I literally just came here, I'm literally kind of getting
You literally.
yeah, I'm getting my thoughts together here.
Okay.
It's wholeness, courtship, and marriage. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would really love to hear what you guys said before. Eh?
We want to know what you think,
We want the true male perspective.
because yeah, they say marriage is about oneness, right?
It is.
It's about two becoming one.
Yes.
So we want to know from your point of view how important wholeness is to becoming one with someone.
Ah, okay, so now the question takes a slight change. So before one can consider marriage, you must know yourself. All right, you must um, you must come to a point of realization that you can now take charge of your life before you can merge with another. All right.
Mm,
A lot of folk go into marriage without dealing with past trauma or past hurts, and that in
mm,
itself hurt the marriage. All right. So wholeness as it pertains to marriage, I believe that is a very serious element, a very serious part of your life. Without it, you're gonna have a devastating relationship. All right. And you cannot truly be whole unless you have some level of spiritual grounding. I'm not talking religion here, I'm talking about a spiritual relationship.
mm,
If we look at, no, I love to use Bible as reference, right? And biblical stories as references and so forth. If you consider Adam before he was presented Eve, God had to take him through a series of development before he was
mm,
ready to receive this woman. All right.
mm,
So from Neil's point of view perspective, a man has to come to that understanding of his own self, what his purpose is, his role and function would be in that.
mm,
All right, because he's not going to be the house band, as they call it. All right,
mm,
he was going to hold the family together first and foremost, prayerfully. All right, and as a result of that, he is now going to, you know, help everything come together with first him knowing himself. All right.
mm.
Um, so, Christine, I'm looking at your face, Christine, and you're like,
I'm just listening. I'm really
She's
intent. I'm
listening keenly.
sorry.
She's
uh,
listening keenly.
I, I,
I'll
would,
smile.
I would always touch on these things from a spiritual standpoint first.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Because I do believe in having that spiritual connection with the Heavenly Father. And that's the only way through Him you can actually become whole.
Mm,
And courtship both parties should be at a particular stage or level in their life where they can firmly say that they know themselves.
Hmm.
Now, I've heard people say, "I know myself to, like the back of my hand."
Hmm.
I disagree with that to a point because there are times where I myself would be like, "I did that, boy. Why did I do that?" So I surprise
Hmm.
at times. So you will never know yourself 100%. Far more
Hmm.
from someone else 100%. But as it pertains to the marriage aspect, both parties should not just seek counseling, physical one-on-one counseling with a psychologist or psychiatrist, depending, but also should approach the throne of grace, pray together, and so forth, and that's where they're going to build that bond and move forward. But everything must start with a friendship.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you guys
Even
hear me?
Pardon?
what's that,
Looks
Kristen?
like we've run into some technical difficulties, y'all.
No,
Yeah,
we hearing you.
no, but I'm hearing that as well.
Yes.
Is it me or what's going on, you guys?
Yes, I think it's your line. I'm not sure what it is that is crackling on your line, but I think your line is crackling. Yeah.
If you're out there watching, just give us a moment, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, no problem. So, Bev,
Okay, crazy. While Kristen is getting her technical issues sort out, I
yes.
listened to you, right? And about the husband that is supposed to hold things together. And again, I thought about the fact that when the economy falls, when jobs are on the line, and unemployment is on the rise, domestic violence rockets. And
Right.
one of the reasons for it is because we have cultivated our men to believe, and even the women believe it too, that men are providers, as in the for the physical or the material things that we need. And outside of it, they are nothing. If you can't provide for me, if you can't work hard and make sure that I have what I need, then you're basically nothing. And what do you think about that?
In my personal view, I would disagree to a great extent, uh,
Mm,
because the responsibility of a husband in this scenario here is not only to provide the material things.
mm,
Um, Again, I can go and touch on the spiritual aspect first, right? So the role and function of the husband in a home is first and foremost the high priest of the home, right?
mm,
And is supposed to have a close connection with the Heavenly Father first and foremost. And as he is fed guidance and direction from the Holy Father, he now comes with his family and he can disseminate the whatever was fed to him.
mm,
So when he provides spiritual covering for his family, he's also the protector of his family. When I say provider, I am going beyond the physical, the material, the tangibles. He provides emotional support. He provides, um, the financial, the emotional, the spiritual support for his wife and family. So
Hi
it's not
guys.
solely,
Yes.
hi, Christian, you're back.
And she's back. Yes. So Kwesi was just talking to us about the guys function in a marriage and the importance of
By the way,
wholeness.
the mic's off. To turn it back on, slide the switch on the back of this device. The mic's back on.
Okay.
Okay, we're just having a little technical problem, so bear with us for a moment, please. Right. Okay, Chrissy, go ahead.
Yeah. So as I was saying, the husband, he's
Mm.
more than just the material provider. All right. He also supports his wife emotionally. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
he provides security for his household as well, and security comes
Mm-hmm.
in a broad way. All right, whether it's
Yeah.
financial, there's literal physical security, protection over his family, and so forth. So
Mm-hmm.
it ends just that material aspect, as a lot of people tend to hold on to. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot was bestowed on man. Hi, you're back again, Kristen.
Yes.
Yes, sorry about that,
Welcome
guys.
back.
Thank you. That was a struggle.
Yes. I heard London in the background.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Mommy!
That was a bundle of joy.
Yes. Can't
Yes.
help but love her. Did I
Hmm.
miss a lot?
No, Kwesi is just talking about the role and function of the husband and the importance of him knowing who he is, his being whole.
Yes.
Also, Kristen, Beverly would have brought forward a scenario where men are taught that we are only supposed to provide material things, and outside of providing those things, we are nothing. And I tend to disagree a whole lot, right? Because our role and function goes way beyond just providing material, right?
Yeah.
Just to briefly touch on it, I am saying that the function of the husband in the home is to not just to provide financially, but also to you know to be the spiritual guide, so to speak, in the household, and also to support the wife and the family emotionally, right? So the husband, he supports emotionally, physically, financially, and whatever else is needed in the household to keep the household moving forward, right?
Yeah. The
Uh,
Bible says that a man is supposed to love his wife and family as Christ loves the church. So
yes,
if that's the case, then it's not just material. You know, the love that Christ has for the church is that he sacrifices. He sacrifices even
Mhm.
if that means to give his own life.
Mhm.
He sacrifices despite all of the pain, and he stands up for his people, right? So that means a man stands up for his family. He protects, he provides, yes, but he should do no harm because Christ heals the church. He restores the church, and that's what a man should
Mhm.
do.
About restoration. Yes.
Yes.
Even when they talk about the Proverbs woman, the virtuous woman,
Hmm.
um, there's a list of things, and included in those list of things is she's also a provider. And so when we are able to see that, listen, we can provide together, we can fight together, we can rise above together, And the man is able to know, well, hey, here what? My wife is an emotional person because women are emotional. I would make sure that she is emotionally stable so that we could listen. Kwesi just said this. Let me hear if you agree or you disagree on this.
I'm looking
Behind every successful man is a good woman.
Oh yeah, I
Is that
agree.
do
I
you
agree.
agree or disagree with that, Kwesi?
I would say I'll split down center because we have successful men who are not married, who are single and they have been single for quite some time, and they would have established themselves as entrepreneurs. What I say, however, is when a man is married and he marries a good woman, his life shoots up. It's bettered. So in that regard, I would say yes, that behind a successful man is a good woman. But on
Mm.
the other side, not every successful man has a woman behind him.
But do you think a bad woman can mess up his success? I'm
Pardon?
just trying to change the meaning of that. Do you think
Mm.
that a bad woman, a negative woman, could change his success?
Well, definitely, definitely.
No,
You see, sorry, Beverly, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'll see what I was going to say after.
The Bible says when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. All right.
Mm.
Yeah.
And the Bible outlines what a good wife is. All right. When you align yourself with someone who is negative,
Mm.
that energy transfers. All right. Now, sex is a thing that binds. So if you engage in intercourse with a negative person, that spiritual tie or that soul tie is made. That is why when you look at marriage and you hear the concept of two persons becoming one, is through that sexual intercourse, they then become one flesh. All right? It's not just a mental thing, it's a sexual, a physical thing. So when you align with negativity in that way, definitely negative spirits can come into your life and you can mess up everything.
Mm.
That is
I
why
just want us to just pause a little bit. I'm now seeing the comments. Pratiba, they said, hey, no, she said,
Hey,
oh,
Pratibha.
hey, Pratiba, thanks for viewing, thanks for being locked on. Dolly Dixon says, true, we do not have to be perfect to get started. And for Kwesi, I guess she was commenting when we started at the beginning. We were speaking about the fact um, that you don't have to be at a perfect place to by that time frame to get cut off.
Right.
But we don't have to be at a perfect place to pursue our purpose. And we also have a Facebook user who said, good night, guys. Good night, Facebook user. Sorry, we don't have a name. You can, if you're still looking, viewing or listening, you can just pop in your name if you like, so we can know who it is. All right, good night to you guys, and it's awesome having you on with us.
Yes, thank you for
Yes.
the comments.
thank you guys.
Hmm.
You know,
So, Chris, yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Kristen. Okay.
Oh,
Uh,
please.
to further answer your question,
Hmm.
in biblical day, uh, God instructed his people to not mix with the other races and so forth, to more or less corrupt what he had already established with them. All right. So to go back to the question you're asking, if you if you find yourself aligned with people who are not supposed to be in your life, they can not just affect your relationship with that person. It can affect your relationship with your own family, with your own children, with work. So everything can be affected. And that is why it comes right back to the first question that you guys asked me about wholeness. Being whole is something that you should take very, very important. All right. It should take very seriously, sorry, because it's important. All right. And who you align yourself with. And that is why the courting period is important as well. So during the courting period, although many people tend to put on a facade, um, during that period is where you really supposed to show more of yourself to the other person.
Right. Yes. Yes.
I want to marry this person. I'm seeing some red flags. Can I accept these red flags? Can we work on them and so forth? So that's what the court stage is supposed to be for. All right. Unfortunately, some people tend to fly past the courting stage and go straight into the ring on finger before the church and before the and expect to change some of the negative traits that they saw from the early stages. But by that time, it's
Right.
Good night, Mr. Walker. That's our Facebook user name, Mr. Walker. Good night, guys. It's wonderful to have you locked in here with us tonight. You feel free to put your comments and your views. We would read it and we would take them into consideration. And feel free to ask questions if you want to also. Yes. So that takes us back to where we were speaking. There's something, Chrissy, that you just said that I wanted to highlight, but it just slipped my mind. So I'll be having a lot of these.
all right.
What
But what would be your take on those three topics?
Okay, so one thing I wanted to say, listen, the person, the good, successful businessman or what's successful in what area, he may not have a wife, but I'm sure he have a good mother as the backbone.
I was gonna say that too.
The
That's a
thing is
good point.
woman. It is woman, right? I say it's men like you say, they're the head, they're the head. I have no problem with that. I love having a head. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm the neck. So guess what? The head without the neck, what you're gonna be doing, one, your vision is gonna be limited. You will not be able to see on the side and to the back, and your vision will be just straight ahead. It's going to be left. And you know what happens when your vision is just straight ahead? Because you might walk and there might be a big stone on the ground there and you can't look down and see it. You will do plenty stomping on your foot. So I totally believe 100% that behind successful man have some great woman somewhere there in the shadows. She don't want to be a wife, but tell yourself it have some great woman somewhere in the shadows.
I don't want to be the devil's advocate here, right?
What's that?
I don't want to be the devil's advocate here. So when we consider Adam, before Eve came into his life,
I know where this is going.
Listen,
Oh man.
Adam felt so unsuccessful that he chose to sin with Eve. You ever thought about that? And I'm
Um,
saying, you see, that life I had before Eve, I don't want. You see, me, I going down with Eve too.
no, no, that raises a totally different topic, huh?
Let me hear you.
Because that is a real touchy thing. If
Mm,
Adam, if Adam was, if he allowed himself to be led by God the Father who walked with him before Eve, he would have understood that his wholeness was set apart from Eve. So he didn't have to sin. He chose to sin because of the love, right? It was a suicidal mission he undertook. However,
Romeo
a
and Juliet.
man, a
Romeo and
man is,
Juliet.
and they both died, right?
Mm,
Um, a man, a man is supposed to obey the voice of God in his marriage, in his relationship.
mm,
All right. And any woman who is virtuous, any woman who is strong, who has a spiritual connection with the Heavenly Father, would understand that when her husband says no to a particular action, she would understand that it is led by the Holy Spirit. All right. Now it's murky waters, but I'm still saying it. All
sorry about
right.
that laugh. Sorry about that scandalous laugh.
Oh, okay.
Because, all right.
So
So
you
Yeah,
telling
as
me,
long as she
right?
has a God-fearing husband, as long as he
You said,
is whole and God-fearing and really truly loving her as Christ loves the church. Now, I agree. But
in
when they are not, that's where I think women go, oh no, because there are so many men that don't love their family as Christ loved the church. Um, and when they say no, it's not in anyone's best interest but their own, but that's because they're not whole.
but
right.
but you know this too. Wholeness tells you, it informs us that we are not perfect. And that plenty times we say that we hear God. It is often from a place of where we are at the point in time. So that, all right, when I was getting married, right, I prayed for my husband. I prayed and I told God, I said, "Look, God, actually, I gave him an ultimatum. I said, God, it's either I take my life or you send a husband for me." It was a really terrible thing that I did. And
But you know, when you did that, not only did God hear you,
he did answer to it.
okay, but was it a
Because
God?
I
Was it
because
a? Sorry, go ahead.
what's that? Go ahead.
I was
Ask.
gonna say, was the man that was sent a God-fearing man? Because if he wasn't, then it wasn't of God.
He was a God-fearing man, but here's
Okay.
this, and that's the thing about it, right? God says when we ask him, he would hear and he would answer.
Hmm.
I was praying for someone in my life to love me, and he was praying for someone to love.
Hmm.
And God did answer our prayers. However, later on, I learned that I would have never given God that ultimatum, and he would not have to answer that prayer if I was at a place of wholeness. We make different decisions, we see things differently when we are a place of wholeness, and we recognize that down today, hey, I made this decision, but I would have made another decision if I had understood this. And God allows things in our life. He truly allows things in our life that we believe that we need at the points in time, things that he believes will take us to a higher place. It may not be exactly what we need, but he knows, because we believe that we need it, and he knows that he could use it for good in our life. He allows it. And wholeness tells you that. So when you are whole as a husband, your wife following your word is not the first and foremost thing on your mind. It really isn't, because you recognize that it's two individuals that is coming into this relationship and two adults. And so that I can give my advice, I can request things, I can suggest things, but I cannot command things. What,
What do you
Chrissy?
want to
I
know
see in
from
your
us?
face. Tell me what you're thinking. I want to know what the thoughts are.
I would agree that the wife is the helpmeet, right?
Mm,
I would agree that making suggestions to help the family move forward, the relationship move forward, those are things that would be invited and appreciated as well, right?
mm,
Um, I would also agree that yes, you could consider yourself the neck in the marriage, right? Because you are there to help guide as well.
mm,
But I will also agree with the part that you are not to command. Yeah. Um, the challenges, the world that we live in now, it's so dynamic that if we have to have these conversations with our married couples or those who are intending to get married, you're going to have some opposition because we live in a world where a lot of people think that the roles are now being reversed,
mm.
right? And we are losing sight of what the whole marriage environment is supposed to be like, which is saddening. But Kristen would have made a point earlier when you were talking about you giving God the ultimatum. Uh,
Mm,
when you speak and you put your words out there, both positive and negative forces hear,
mm-hmm,
all right? And both positive and negative forces, God and the devil, can present to you things that you would have asked for. But understanding which is from whom is most important.
The difference is that the negative forces can go on what is heard, said out loud, what is said out loud, while the positive goes on, it can go on thoughts or silent prayers. And for me, that was a silent prayer. It truly was. And again, we have to understand. All right, let me give you an example of what I am talking about. There's this couple that I knew, and I was given a story about them. The woman, she wanted to buy land and build a house and stuff like that, and the guy was disagreeing with her as to how to go about it. And she went ahead behind his back and she bought the land and she built the house. And now he is the proud owner of a home that he walks around and he says, he introduced persons, this is my house, this is my home, you know? And he enjoys the fact that he is in his own home with his wife. And now he could tell you that the choice he had made back then to say no would have been the wrong choice.
Mhm. And if it
So
weren't for her, they wouldn't have had that.
they wouldn't, right, they would not have the beautiful home that they have now that he actually is so proud of, and showing off, they wouldn't have it. So to say so to say that a woman, a perverse woman or a virtuous woman is a person who would know when her husband say no, that it is no, it's not really conducive to every situation. Because again, we have to recognize that we are not always right. And so that when we understand that there's a higher power that is in control as a man, we have to be able to humble ourselves and say, you know what? There's a higher power who is in control, and he has said he will work out every single thing for my good as long as I love him and I give my life to him. And we have to be that humble. And it's only when we have that kind of humility when we can really say, hey, I am the kind of leader that God intend me to be.
Right.
So you guys, I was just thinking of
Mm-hmm.
the woman being the rib, right? And I've
Mm-hmm.
never like it just I've never thought of it this deep. So the woman is the rib, and when we think about the rib cage that protects the heart, it
The lungs.
protects the ability to breathe, it
Mm-hmm.
protects ability to digest.
Right.
And when you think about all of these things, like if we think that maybe it's also a metaphor, like the husband provides and protects the family, but the wife is supposed to protect the man, his ability to live,
Mm-hmm.
his ability to
Mm-hmm.
digest and analyze things, his ability to
Mm-hmm.
breathe and relax and
Mm-hmm.
relate. Like I've never thought of it in that way. Like I've always just been like, oh yeah, the wife is the rib. But have you guys ever thought of it in that way or had it presented that way? Because when I
Honest.
like just now thinking, oh, that's deep,
Mm-hmm.
like the woman is the rib. Like I've always took
Mm-hmm.
it kind of like literal. But when we think of it
Yes.
figuratively,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much more to that husband and wife dynamic.
Right. And it's only when we pursue wholeness we understand this. It's only when we
Yeah.
pursue wholeness, because imagine getting into a marriage and not understanding just how crucial we both are to bring in oneness. Just how crucial.
Right.
What our functions and roles are to bring that kind of oneness that is needed. Listen, the worst place, we think that single life bad. The worst place to be is in a broken marriage where you feel alone. You do not feel as alone, that alone when you're single. Trust me, you don't feel that alone when you're single. It's the it's
That's
the
true.
worst place to be because when you get in that marriage, you get in with the thought that now I have someone to enjoy myself with. Now I have the intimacy that I long for. When you're single, you know you're single. You know what it is. But then you get when you it's with a different mindset. Oh my goodness. And I encourage persons who are single. I always say, listen, don't rush into nothing. Enjoy your single life. Enjoy who you are. Because if you think single life is bad, get into a marriage that is broken. Get into a marriage where you feel alone. You will pray to God to be single again. Serious. You pray to be single again.
So,
Yeah.
question. Our grandparents, great grandparents, how did they make it through all those years, 40 years, 50 years of marriage?
I think for a lot of persons, quantity was more important than quality. Um, you had this. It was not, wholeness wasn't taught as much. What was taught was, when you get into a marriage, stay within the marriage. I can speak freely about my grandparents now because they're not alive, right?
Okay.
My grandmother and my grandfather got married. They had 12 children. One died at birth, so they grew up 11 children. And my grandfather was not a nice person to deal with. He was a jealous person. He brought persons within. Imagine you bringing your girlfriend in your home where your wife is and introduce your wife as your sister. That's the kind of person that my grandfather was. My grandmother talked to somebody. He had a problem with her talking to guys. And she stayed and she accepted the abuse over the years. And you know what happened when he died? She grieved for him. She grieved. She didn't even know who she was. She couldn't handle. When she died, they say her blood was as pure as baby blood. She didn't have diabetes. She didn't have high blood pressure. She died in her 80s, close to 90. And she died practically of a broken heart over someone who never, ever valued her. And she didn't even see the time as a great time to enjoy herself and love herself. And that was the age. That was the age back then.
Okay.
Want to live like that? Do we want quantity or quality? And for me, I would say I want the both. I want quantity. I want quality. And
You
that
want
is why I want both. I want quantity and I want quality.
what? Okay.
But if I have to choose between quantity and quality, I will choose quality.
Right. So in choosing quality, it goes back to what the main topic is about. Wholeness, being whole. Um,
Right.
being true to yourself, but not just being true to yourself, but knowing who you are through the eyes of your Heavenly Father,
Hmm.
overcoming or dealing with the past hurts and traumas and so forth before you enter into that union with someone else.
Yes, yes, yes. It is so important. That wholeness, it is so, 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 so important because to be honest, quantity is also a part of quality
Right.
because if I have several marriages where it's only 2 years, 3 years, um, I'm still not getting the quality that I'm looking for. I still will not get the quality that I'm looking for. So if I want the quality, if I want the quality, I also have to work. If I want the quantity, yes, quality, I have to work on my wholeness. I have to. I have to know who I am and be in company with persons who know exactly who they are.
All right.
But
I'm listening.
yes. So, we were also talking because you keep asking about what our view and what we were talking about before. So we were also speaking about the difference between dating and courtship. And we were saying dating is also an important part in our lives.
Hold on.
It truly
Hold on,
is.
hold on.
Mhm.
Is everybody else getting feedback like I am?
Yes, we're getting a crackling
Yeah.
noise.
Is it me?
Yeah. I am not sure what is causing it. But when you had on the headset, we wasn't getting it as we're getting it now.
Okay.
Okay, so we just dealing with some technical issues, but we are right there with you, and we are asking that you bear with us just a moment. Kwesi,
Hi.
you were going to say something.
I can't remember what I was gonna
Can you
say.
guys hear me okay?
Oh gosh. Yeah,
Hi.
it's right, Christine. It's much better when you're wearing the headset.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my goodness. Sorry about that.
Yes, you were going to say something, Christine.
No, go ahead, Chrissy.
Oh, no, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, it's okay. I
Yes,
was concerned about the.
yes, Chrissy. So we were
Oh,
saying,
okay.
um,
So, are we wrapping up?
yes, we're looking to wrap up.
Sorry.
We are, yeah. Yes, Chrissy, we were saying that there's a difference between dating and courtship, and
I agree.
that dating helps us to know who we are. It helps us to understand persons. It helps us to intermingle with others. And courtship is a little more intimate. Courtship is where we are now dating with the intent of getting married. So at that point in time, you should have a sense of wholeness and purpose. Right? So that was our view. We believe that in order to get the oneness that we're looking for, we have to pursue wholeness in our lives. We had to be, and I say, marriage or nothing else that we could pursue could bring happiness. We have to be able to find wholeness and happiness within our own selves before anything else on the outside that could add to that happiness that we need in order to live purposeful life.
I agree.
So tonight, what are your last words that you want to leave persons with? Because it's past the hour. Yeah. What?
I'll go last.
You go last. Christine, go ahead.
Okay. So, what I've gathered are a lot of things. Wholeness is important in relationships and courtship. We don't really use that term here in the US, but I get what you're saying. I guess there's two different kinds of dating, and here in the US, you kind of have to be careful and have that conversation with what you mean when you say you're dating someone. Are you dating? Are you dating exclusively? Um,
Mhm.
but to go into a relationship whole is key, and especially a marriage. And Beverly, I loved when you said that you cut an orange in half
Mhm.
and you take a section from one half, and you try to put it back together. It's not going to be a whole orange. And that's
Mhm.
symbolic of a relationship with someone coming to the table and they're not whole. That was a great symbolic visual for me. So I think that our listeners work on becoming whole. And I know that for myself, I am always trying to maintain that and develop myself and
Mhm.
to read more, learn more, and do more for others. And that helps me become whole more. You guys know that you can reach me
Mhm.
by email or online, Facebook, Instagram. It's either Kristen Brook or XTIN Brook. By email, it's thecore@kristenbrook.com. And as you know, I have the book coming out in February. I just got the final edits from the editor today, guys. So it is coming
Mhm.
along. So I Choose Joy will be out in February. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. I will be updating my website this week. I'll tell you guys this week, so then I have to get it done.
Okay, I know that we are wrapping up, but we encourage our listeners to get aboard with our discussion, so I cannot ignore this. We have a Facebook user. I am not sure if it's Mr. Walker, but we have a Facebook user saying, I think long ago women used to be more submissive to their mister. What do you think, Mr. Kwesi, about that
Well,
statement?
I would have touched on that earlier, where I said that the world that we live in now, a lot of folk have moved away from the ideal.
Mm,
It's no longer his role and my role. They now interchange roles.
mm,
So yes, I would say women of long ago were more submissive. However, in a lot of instances, they were submissive because of fear instead of out of love. But going back to what Kristen would have said, as long as the husband loves his wife, truly loves his wife, I don't think that she's going to have any issues with um, being submissive to,
mm.
because she will understand that this man loves me and truly loves me and cares for me and would not want to see me going down a path of destruction or to hurt me, you know. So a lot has changed over the years.
So we have another user saying, and I guess this user is a woman. She's saying, Christine, before I say it, Christine, if I had cut you off, I am
Oh
totally
no, go
sorry.
ahead.
I am totally sorry,
No,
okay?
no, I was
So she is,
done.
she is saying men need to take care of their women and kids if they want women to be submissive. Christine, what do you think about that?
I agree. To a certain extent, yeah. So, if they want a wife to be submissive, um, then yeah, they would love her like we keep saying, like Christ loves the church. So, like Jesus loves us all, he would have a love that is relentless. And I mean, that's kind of given that he would provide for his family. In this
Mm,
day and age, does that mean that the wife doesn't work? No, not necessarily. The wife is, like I said, that rib, right, to protect the man. So if that means that in this day and age that things are money isn't being met because he's giving his all and she has to work too, then that's a decision for them as a family. But being a good rib, she would allow him to again analyze the decisions that he makes and have time to breathe and make wise decisions, and to allow him to love and be vulnerable and loving. And as he leads the family, he would be leading with the family's best interest in mind. So as a single mom, it's kind of a given for me that I provide for my children, right? I would not withhold anything, and I wouldn't, that wouldn't come with conditions. So I wouldn't expect that a man that loves his family just like I love my children, if he loves his wife just like I love my children, um, despite all their flaws, all their faults, because no one is perfect, and a child really can test your patience, just as a woman can. Sometimes we can test men's patience, and men can test ours. When you really love someone, though, that doesn't matter because, like Beverly and I talked about, the intent of the communication. When you love someone, you can hear it and you can see it with the best intent possible coming from that person. And I think that is key and it's crucial. And when you are able to do that, you are more whole and you're able to see people as more whole, maybe even more whole than what they really are. But when you believe that the intentions from the other party is the best intentions for your relationship, then it's likely to work better. And there's likely to be a mutual love and respect that is shown, and you just know it. You just know it because it's there. You know when you have those red flags, and it's not love, right? But when you're whole, then you can go into that relationship knowing that yeah, he will provide for me and my children, and I will do X, Y, and Z as well. Also I think in this day and age, like Kwesi, you said, back in the day, women had fear, right? There was societal norms that a woman would be submissive, and women didn't have rights. There was no right here in the U.S. where a woman could own land. If your husband died, you were beholden to the men of your community and what you would get. So yeah, it was a different time. I think that we need to make sure that we're interpreting these things based on what society is like today and what love looks like, and how we should interpret that to fit in line with the Bible, even though we're in modern day times.
Yes, I listen. I listen to persons and I smile to myself because we hear about so many persons who want to go back to yesteryear. If we could go back to yesteryear, women were more submissive. Listen, what we have today was born out of yesteryear. So it's obvious that there was something about yesteryear that was not totally correct. Now, yesteryear was a suppressed generation. A lot of things were not spoken. Like, persons got married, they didn't even know what sex was. Sex was something, a word you couldn't say. You couldn't even use the correct parts like vagina and penis. A whole lot of things were suppressed. Like, here's what there was something that we alluded to earlier on. And it's the fact that we pass on things to our generations even before they are born. So whereas we may think that, okay, they may see us there in the marriage and the husband said this and we do it and we don't. There were a lot of times that they rebelled inwardly and they passed that on to their children before they were even born. There are lots of women who were bitter and they passed that bitterness on to their children before they were even born. Today, we have everything on the outside. We have nothing suppressed. And so we have the opportunity now to sit down and examine where we went wrong in past times. Because Kwesi said something. Now he said, in a marriage, there's three persons: the man, the woman, and God. Now, God is a spirit, and that spirit is love. And the reason why that spirit of love is there is because it's for both the man and the woman to know that that is what we are submitted to. That is what's going to make the difference. And to be truthful, if you listen to the cries of women today, I mean, I watch Divorce Court and I watch it because I love Lynn Tola. It's not she anymore, it's now it's Faith. I miss her already. But I love the advice that she gave, and I love to look at to see, how relationships are, how persons think. What are the things that goes on within a relationship that causes problems? So I love to watch that. And I'm telling you, I'll tell you what I'm telling you in a minute. The truth is that we women wants to submit. We want to submit to something. We want men to take over. You hear the cry, I have too much on my plate. I just want a man, a real person to just step in and to take over. But it only wholeness, only the place of wholeness could bring us to that place where we could understand that what we have to submit to is love. And if we individually, ourselves, if we are submitted to love, then love is what we would exemplify. Love is what we would give. Love is what will be flowing out of us. And that is what wholeness brings. That is what wholeness brings. So that when we get into the marriage now, it's not about culture. It's not about how persons see a male function and a woman function, but it's about two individuals. Maybe I marry a man who is in a wheelchair and I am the one that has to be the provider. Does that make me the head? It doesn't, right? So it's being able to come in with the mindset that we are submissive under love and we understand, listen, a woman is an emotional being who loves to be spoken to in a certain way, held in a certain way, loves quality time. And when she gets that, she does almost anything for the male. Almost, listen, I say, man don't know that they could get women to do almost anything for them. Really, almost anything. What crazy is smiling?
See, topics like this require more than 2 hours, huh?
Yeah. We can pick it back up on our next.
Right? But I would definitely agree with both of you in a lot of areas, a lot of points that you'll touch on. But there's something that I would allude to, which is yes, the relationships and marriages of yesteryear, they had their flaws, but they also had their positives as well. They had their pros. And if it is we look at extracting the good that came out of those marriages and add them to our present relationships and or marriages, we can better the course, so to speak. Right? But I do agree with a lot of what both of you would have said. Um, I really, really hope that for those who are married, who are listening, that they truly seek after truth. Sometimes that will mean that you need to re-educate yourself or ourselves with regard to how we interact with one another, communication skills. Uh, but we need to really and truly educate ourselves with regard to loving one another and loving ourselves.
So it's going on 2 hours. So we really, really have to close our. I am totally enjoying this program, and one of the greatest thing that I'm enjoying right now is the fact that the viewers are part of the discussion tonight. And so we really have to do a part 2 on this because we have, and I need to read the comments before we close up. So we have say, if we take some of the goods from yesteryear, we have less problem ahead. And we have the another one. I guess the first one that I read was the male user, probably Mr. Walker. And this is the female who is saying, "Oh, yes, we want men to be men, but when they don't do what's right, there's no submissiveness. Men need to be better. We are always mothers. We usually do our job." And that is a topic for next time. We have to,
Yes, I like
we have to
it.
all of it. But yes, viewers, thank you so much. This is what we want. This is exactly what we want. So we are asking you to like and share and subscribe and include your friends so that we can have healthy discussion. We can continue to have healthy discussions on a Tuesday, where we can have a really great interactive time with our viewers. Thanks so much for being a part of this program and for giving your views. We will have part 2 on this program. We surely will do that.
Yes.
So, Christina, I cut you off. I'm very, very sorry. So, what were you saying when I cut you off to close off?
Nothing. I was just agreeing with you, saying yes. Well, I look forward to our next part too.
Okay,
And oh,
yes.
Beverly, how can they reach you? Because I did share that they can reach me at the core, TheCoeur at KRISTINBROOKE.com. And Beverly is
All right, so you can reach me on my page at Beverly Briggs. I'm Beverly Briggs. You could message me and I would give you further, well, according to what it is, you will get my WhatsApp number and you can also email me at titipearlfoundation.com. Titi Pearl Foundation at gmail.com. We would have, just as we have the name of the organization and the program uh, banner scrolling in the bottom, we would add our contacts. We would add our contacts next week programs that you can be able to reach us. We had a lovely time today, Christine. We had a lovely time. And I feel like things now
yes,
starting to heat up in the place that
right?
we have to close off
Yeah.
the program. But again, we are asking
Okay.
you to like, share, and subscribe. Because we are also on YouTube. We are also on YouTube. And I share again on Beverly Briggs. I share the YouTube uh, version of this program, and you can just subscribe on my page. I do have a lovely night or evening or morning, wherever you are, whatever time it is. It was just a wonderful thing sharing this moment with you.
Yes.